Hi, my name is Monet, and I'm just going to be, I'm just making this video to help people out who may have an assignment or something and just need to analyze a movie or story. Now, this is just going to be just the very basic. I'm just going to show the 3-act narrative, how to do that, just some terms that you may already know, but just to reiterate, and just a little bit of information, nothing serious. I didn't want to add lighting and scene by scene shots. I didn't want to add that in. I'll probably do that on a different video. So the story I'm going to be talking about is a very old show called Bewitched. A lot of you may be familiar with that. The episode is called It Shouldn't Happen to a Dog. Now, it'll probably be easier if you watch the show before you look at the video, or you could watch it after. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to show you how I analyzed it and how I broke it down and just stuff to look for so it can make it easier for you. And you can find the show, I'm sure you can find it on Netflix. I know it's definitely on Hulu.com. You can probably find it on Netflix or anything else. It's just like a 30-minute show, so it's not long at all. Alright, when looking at movies, just as well as meeting someone for the first time, the introduction is our first impression, and it's very important. And the introduction is usually the same as the end, and that's called a bookend. Now, like a good example of a movie that has a bookend is The Wizard of Oz. You probably don't notice it until you have to analyze shows. Like I was in this communication analytics and criticism class at ODU, so I had to learn how to do all this stuff. So unless you don't have to do this stuff, you don't notice this stuff, but I had to do it. So yeah, The Wizard of Oz, they opened and end with black and white clouds. So that's an example of a book ending story. Alright, and so some key terms that you may already know, but just to go over them again, you need to point out, when you're analyzing a story or a movie, you need to point out the plot. And the plot is an order in which things are presented to you. Another one, an example of plot is just like connecting the dots. That's how they give you the plot in stories and movies, connect the dots. So for story, people get plot and story mixed up a lot, so really be careful when you're thinking of what a plot is and what a story is. A story is a series of acts that build to a climatic confrontation. And protagonist is someone who usually has admirable qualities, usually the hero. The audience usually identifies with him, her, or it. And another example from Wizard of Oz, Dorothy. She was the protagonist in that movie. We could identify with her. She was the nice person. She just had a goal that she was trying to reach, and just like all of us do. So she's the protagonist in that story. And as far as antagonist, that is someone who usually has unadmirable qualities. They usually try to prevent the protagonist from reaching his, her, or its goal. The audience usually is against this person. So, looking at The Wizard of Oz, the Wicked Witch, she is the antagonist. because she was trying to stop Dorothy from getting home because she wanted those slippers. I mean, I personally would want them too if they were a little bit higher. And another thing, disruption and delay. A lot of media spends their time with disruption and delay. That's probably why a lot of people doesn't like the news and stuff like that, because it seems like they never get to the point. They always want to throw stuff out there that has nothing to do with what you actually want to see. And that's exactly what they're trying to do. And I mean, it's not always bad. Like, movies do it also, shows that we watch. But like when it happens in movies and stuff like that, it's a tease for us. But we like that because we're interested in finding out how they got to the conclusion. So like a good example of disruption and delay would be Law and Order. If anyone watches Law and Order, the Special Victims Unit investigations, like just any investigations, doesn't have to be special victims. The investigators who are trying to figure out, like for example, someone who got raped. They're trying to figure out who raped the person. They go through a lot of false leads and a lot of stuff that has nothing to do with who got raped. Just a lot of nonsense. They go through all that with the promise of a resolution at the end. So, again, we're really interested in finding out how the investigators got to their conclusion. So, that's the disruption and delay that we like. And that's it for the terms. Those are just some quick, easy terms that you need to know when you're analyzing a show. And just some little facts. Movies can always be broken down into a 3-act narrative. And let me show you the diagram, well, the 3-act narrative diagram that I made for the show we're about to talk about, which again is Bewitched. It Couldn't Happen to a Dog. You start off with the rising action. Wrong side. This is the rising action. 1, 2, and 3. I'm sorry, 1 and 2. That is the rising action. That is the area that builds to a crisis. And then we have the falling action. Well, just to go back, the rising action, that's the rising action, that's the rising action, and that's the rising action. Now, going to the falling action suits us with relief. So, this right here, that's the falling action, and that is the falling action. And then you go to exposition, and that's basically the boring parts, or as I would say, the talking time in the movie, because that's when you really understand the motives and the backgrounds, like why they're doing what they're doing. So the exposition is this flat part right here. There's no action, it's just information that you're getting, learning more about the people. And then we go to climax. The climax is all the way up here. That's the highest point in a show or a movie. That's the decisive moment of a crisis. Anticipation. We do not know what's going to happen. And then we have our resolution, which is this long line right there. And resolution, that's when we get some closure. Maybe. We do not always get closure to movies. A good example of not getting closure to movies is the movie called Shutter Island with Leonardo DiCaprio. At the end of the movie, I don't want to be a spoiler, but at the end of the movie, I'll just say that they provided us with like a open-ended story, because you never know, you don't know, there could be so many possibilities to what actually like happened or what was going on. It's just a really good movie. Like, you should see it if you haven't saw it. I don't want to ruin it for you. But back to the resolution where we get closure. That's where we fulfill the goals and motivations can be ambiguous. Now going back to the maybe. Open-ended again, bringing a new conflict for a sequel. Batman, that's a good example. There's always something happening at the end that makes you think, oh wow, what's going to happen next? Like just with the Dark Knight that just came out. Well, it didn't just come out, but it left you thinking, wow, like, is there going to be yet another Batman? Which I think there is. So, yeah, so some stories, they just leave the audience hanging. I honestly don't like to be left hanging, so I would rather them just to get over what they're going to do, and that's it. But anyways, that's just me. But okay, so we're going to get on to actually talking about this story. Now again, you would have to see this or watch it after to really understand what I'm going through. Now, this is just all going to be about this show, so if you want to cut it right here, you can, but this is just for people who want to know how to analyze it, excuse me, better. Okay, so, alright, so I'm just going to tell you guys a summary that I had typed up of what the show is about from all the information that I obtained. And it kind of fits into the 3-act narrative, so. Alright, so I wrote, in the TV sitcom Bewitched, the show has 3 main characters, who are Samantha Stevens, which is the wife, Darren Stevens, the husband, and Rex Barker, who is Darren's associate. The show starts off with Samantha making dinner for her husband's co-worker party. The party was very important because he was trying to convince Rex to see his work so they can grow business together. During the party, Rex kept trying to hook up with Samantha, and to avoid getting caught up with Darren, she turns Rex into a dog. Because she has these magical powers. Bewitched. Like, that's kind of what it means. Witch stuff. So, I believe that was really key, her turning him into a dog, because a lot of girls, not myself, a lot of girls call guys dogs. So I just thought that was really key, because she's turning him into what she thought he was acting like. And, alright, to go back to the story, Rex ends up running around, Rex the dog, he ends up running around the neighborhood chasing a cat. Samantha followed him and tries to rescue him, since she still has to return him back into a human, because it means so much to her husband to get this deal. She ends up losing him for a moment, but then the pound found him. The big day to go over the deal came, and she took him to the groomer so he could look nice, and she turns him back into a human when they arrive at the office. Samantha stays in Darren's office until he's done, but Rex comes into Darren's office to her surprise. He makes advances to her again, and Darren comes in this time and catches him red-handed. Darren knocks Rex out and Darren knocks Rex out and quits and leaves to go home with his wife. Whew. They comfort each other at home until they hear the doorbell ring. Darren answers the door, and it's Rex. Rex apologizes and tells Darren that he wants to accept his deal. Yay, that's the end. Relief. Darren celebrates with his wife by going out to dinner. So that's just a quick summary again of the story. And so going back to this 3-act narrative. It's called a 3-act narrative just because it has those 3 points right there. 3 different acts. Okay, so how I broke down my 3-act narrative. I start off with my rising action, which again is down here at the bottom. So, and that's where I put Sam prepares for the party. Going up still with that rising action, Darren talks to Rex about plans for getting this business going together. Right at the peak of the rising action, or you could call that, yeah, just at the peak right there. Rising action, or you could call that a climax if you want. A lot of teachers teach it a different way. But yeah, at the rising action / climax, Rex makes advances to Samantha. And falling action, Samantha turns Rex into a dog. Exposition. Samantha worries about him being outside in the cold and tries to plead with Darren to let him back in. Rising action. Samantha kicks Darren out of the room. Climax. Rex the dog roams away. Falling action. Samantha picks Rex the dog up from the groomers. Exposition. Samantha turns Rex back into a human. Rising action. Rex tries to hook up with Sam again. Climax. Darren punches Rex and quits his job. Resolution. Rex comes to Darren's house to give his job back and agrees with the deal. Now, there are some things in there that you probably wouldn't understand because I didn't explain the full story out again, so it actually probably would be best if you watch it before. So, with the climax, that's the part, again, where we're like hanging on our seats for like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen next? So that's why I decided to put Darren punches Rex and quits his job, because that's like the craziest part of the movie, the show. You don't expect that to happen, and then we feel comforted again as the resolution comes and Rex gives him his job back. So it makes everything all better. So the protagonists would be Samantha and Darren. Now you can just say Samantha, but you could also put Darren if you want. So the reason why Samantha is the protagonist is she's just trying to have a nice dinner for her husband's coworker and is trying to accommodate everyone, but Rex keeps getting in the way by trying to constantly hook up with her. And Samantha keeps telling him that she's not interested and that he needs to stop, but he doesn't listen. The second protagonist, Darren, like I said, he's trying to get a contract deal, and Samantha seems to be getting in the way. But truthfully, Rex is the one that's making them struggle. Samantha seems to be getting in the way of Darren getting the best deal of a lifetime, and Rex is trying to constantly hook up with his wife. The antagonist, of course, is Rex. And, if you watch the show, the police. Rex was trying to keep Samantha from doing what she wanted to do and put a hold on her accomplishment to please Darren and their relationship. The police also stopped Samantha from trying to make things right when she tried to catch Rex so she could change him back. So, that's that. And just some key elements that you could pick out that can help your story and help distinguish how the characters are. Let me just go to it real quick. Okay. So, just some little key things I picked out. All the actors in the scene are dressed very formal. And that could also be because it's an older show. And Samantha is wearing short heels with a nice sequins dress with a bow tie around her waist with her hair back. She has shoulder length hair, so Eddie used to put it up for the party so she can move around better and have better access to clean and cook. Darren and his associate and Rex are all wearing clean-cut suits with skinny ties with a handkerchief in their pockets. Furniture was very traditional. Samantha and Darren moved somewhat quickly and with the correct posture why? It's just been a long day for me. I'm sorry, guys. Let me repeat that. Samantha and Darren moved somewhat quickly with the correct posture while Rex moved more slow and sluggish as the night went on. And they used brandy a lot in this show. Brandy's a wine, if you guys didn't know. And that inquired a lot of relaxation and just wanting to have fun. So I thought that was a key element, that brandy. And that brandy really brings out Rex's character. Rex drinks the brandy all 3 times when he approaches Samantha. Another element is that Samantha turned Rex into a dog again because he was behaving like one. I already told you that. And if you also notice in the background, they were showing pictures of women in like the picture frames, like just paintings. And if you look closely, the women look hopeless, sad, and quiet. And I feel like the women were settling what was given to them and not being able to take a stand. And I feel like that's exactly how Samantha was feeling throughout the whole story. She was hopeless and she was sad because she was trying to explain to her husband that Rex is trying to hook up with her, but he looks at it as you shouldn't be dressed the way you are, which that has nothing to do with why a guy talks to you. Don't let anybody tell you that. And so yeah, her husband just blames it on her. So I just thought those pictures were key elements also, because it showed how she was feeling throughout the whole movie, the whole show. And yeah, that's it. I did write down a screenshot analysis, but again, I could do that in a different segment. This has already been running long enough. So yeah, I hope that helped you guys. Whoever's taking the class or whoever just needs help on what to look for when analyzing a show. Now, just to explain those little things that I was just saying to you guys, it's just good to copy down whatever you catch in the show. Like what people are wearing, what setting is the lights around them, what type of lights, like are the lights hanging or from the ground, from the background, how their hair is, just every little thing counts, because if you write it all down and then look at it at the end and put it all together, it starts to make sense to why they do that, because scene designers are really good with doing that. Scene and clothing designers, like they're good with matching people's clothing and the atmosphere with what they're actually doing, so they do it for a reason. So it's very important for us to catch those things, because just to show them that they're doing their job good. Now, if you don't catch that in any show, then that show must be really bad, because that's their job to tie it all in together. So yeah, so if you guys need any more help, or I could also post a link to the show, just in case you have trouble finding it. But if you need any help with anything, just shoot me an email, or yeah, just hit me up. I'll be glad to help, and I hope this helped whoever needed it. Alright, bye!